everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Mike and this is Build and Tinker, and we are continuing with our 66 Batmobile from Fanhome DeAgostini, issues 51 to 56 today, and I've just opened the box. Slight problem, I've got two issue 52s and no issue 51. This sort of thing happens occasionally. We're all human, everyone makes mistakes. The great thing about the Fanhome subscription is I actually have access to every single one of the build magazines through the online portal as a PDF. So you just log onto your Fanhome account, you'll see all your subscriptions there. Each one has an assembly guide tab, and you can download PDFs of every single assembly guide for the parts you've already received. So it's going to take a few seconds to log on and grab that as a PDF. I'm fine not having paper copies of the manuals, to be fair. I tend to bin them when I'm done. Anyway, so let's get downloading and then building. So with the car on the bench in front of me, I've now got the parts for this issue 51. And it's quite a simple one. We're going to just drop this lovely big piece of floor from the rear of the car. It just sits neatly over the back there, and you can see where it lines up with some screw holes. Pretty straightforward. I've got the instructions on my screen over here, so I'm going to refer to those. And we've got some CM screws, 7 of them, which are going to go here and then around the back here. So that's all 7 CM screws installed, and they're quite long, so make sure you get them all the way in. And the next part of this installation is to now get these exhaust resonators installed onto the underside of this floor. So we made these in a previous issue. Just find the instructions for that. So they're quite simple to attach. They go on with AP screws, and I believe they're no, they're not the same, they are handed. Okay, so we need to make sure we get the right side. So the end of these resonators, each one has a hole in it, and you'll see the holes are not centered, so we need to make sure we get them on the right side. It's going to be quite straightforward because you can see whether or not it lines up with the exhaust pipe that goes underneath. So what I might do is just put the model on its side so that you can see a bit more about what I'm doing. So this is the one we want for this side, and maybe I don't want to damage the engine, so I'm going to put some foam under the engine. See, this is going to go on here with the exhaust sliding into the hole in the end of the resonator box, and then lining the screw holes up, the holes in the floor, so it'll sit just like that. It's a bit hard to show you, but when you do it, you'll see it's quite obvious. And with everything lined up, we just pop a couple of AP screws in. And repeat that for the other side. And the next stage again requires us to turn the model over. So with all the engine parts attached, we want to be careful about protecting the engine. Just going to pop our foam in there, and we are installing a fuel line which we installed originally in issue 15 apparently. So let's see if we can find that one. So I had to go back to issue 15 to find out what this fuel line was, because I don't remember it, and it's attached to the fuel pump, which is on the left hand side of the engine, or the right hand side now because we've got it upside down, and it actually fallen off. So I put it in my box of bits, which is why it's important to have one. So this is that line, and it basically comes out of the fuel pump here, and we need to feed it across the entire length of the car underneath all of the framework. So I'm just looking at the diagram to see where it goes, and it needs to go, we need to fish it underneath the front wishbone and steering mechanism, and then bring it underneath the chassis here where these brake lines are, which is going to be fun. And see if we can't see it on the other side. Yeah, there it is. So get our tweezers. We'll bring it all the way underneath each section of the body. With it fed through, we just need to be careful not to pull it off the fuel pump, and here to where we will eventually be fitting a fuel tank, but it's not there just yet. So there's quite a few other lines around here for brakes. In fact, this one here, not quite sure where that goes yet. I think that went around the side, so just try and keep tabs on all of those pipes. So that's that issue complete, and it wasn't too hard, but we do need to try and remember to keep track of all these different pipes and lines. So let's have a look at the next one, which is 52. So here are the parts for issue 52, and they are the rear wheel arches, and they are stamped with L and R for left and right. So it's going to be pretty easy to drop them in place and just screw them on. We'll use a CM screws for that, 3 on each side, and obviously this is the right hand side of the car, so that's going to drop on like that, and you can see straight away where they go. And this one on the left hand side of the car drops over the same studs. There we go, and then we just screw them down. And there we are, the 2 wheel arches installed. Pretty straightforward really. So let's look at 53. So in issue 53 we're actually going to fit the battery box and the power switch. Now these are parts which I'd already opened. Anyone who follows the channel will know that I did a video on installing the Mike Lane bat beacon, and for that we needed to get the battery box and the circuit board and everything out of their packaging. So I've already had those pieces out of the package to make that video, so we'll go and retrieve those and we'll get them in the car. So here is the power switch from issue 53, and it simply drops into this recess here and is held into place with a couple of CM screws. Now this is one of those rare occasions where keeping the spare screws is going to come in really handy. I opened this packet months ago. I don't know where the screws are that came with it, but we have spare CMs from the last 2 or 3 issues, so I'm just going to use those to install this. And with the screw installed, the next step is to install the battery box. Now this box still has some batteries in it from when I did my bat beacon installation, so we'll just whip those out. And the battery box simply drops into place in this hole here. They've got the red on that side, the black on that side. I don't think it makes a great deal of difference, but we'll observe what they've done on the box. And again, we need some CP screws for this. And that's issue 53 complete. We now have the switch and the battery box. So in issue 54 we get the speaker, we get the cover for the battery box, the snap-on cover, and what looks to be the speaker bracket to hold the speaker in place. It's a pretty simple installation with the speaker laid straight into its recess just there, and then we put the sort of retainer clip, as it were, over the top, and then a couple of CM screws used to hold that down. And then of course there's the battery box cover, and that just snaps into place underneath the model. Like so. And that's issue 54 complete. So in 55 we installed the actual PCB, and this is the PCB that came with the kit. You've seen this before if you saw the bat beacon video. The PCB sits in this little recess here where there are 4 screw posts, and if I zoom in you might be able to have a better look at that. And it just sits in here. Now it's important to get the orientation right, mostly just to ensure that all the cables reach. So in this instance we have it oriented with these sockets here towards the rear of the car by the looks of it. Yes. So D and A point towards the front of the car, and then the sockets labelled H are towards the front. So just drop it gently over where the posts are, and we'll put some CP screws in to hold it. Now always be careful when you're screwing in around electronics, because you don't want to damage the circuit board. So don't over tighten anything at all, there's no need. And also make sure there's no power to the board. You could short circuit something. These screwdrivers, however, that I use, these Vera screwdrivers, they are what they call ESD, so they're electrostatic safe. They will not, they reduce the amount of static that could be transferred into an electronic component. And I much prefer using these because it just helps keep the electronics safe. With this issue, we also got these cables. These are the cables for the headlights, and in fact you get the headlights as well. So this needs to be just loosely draped across the car and plugged in, and now it has a sticker on it that says D, and it's very simple. You just plug it into the socket that's labelled D, which in this case is down here in this corner. Make sure you get the socket the right way up. It will only go in one way. If you've got it the right way, it should go in easy. If you're having to force it, you've probably got it wrong. We also get this little extension cable labelled L, and that goes in the socket labelled L, which is in the middle of the board. Now this one is for the beacon that comes standard with the car, which you'll probably already know we're not going to use because we're using the Mike Lane beacon. I'll install it anyway, just so that you can see, but later on that's coming out. We can also plug in the battery box into B for battery, and the switch into A for switch. And finally the speaker, which is C, plugs into the C socket. So it's very simple. You don't need to know much about electronics to use these. That's the end of that issue, and we've now got the beginnings of the electronics for the car. However, I won't be using these in the long term. All of this is going to come back out again because we're going to be installing the Mike Lane bat circuit, and that's going to come really soon. Issue 56, we assemble the remote. Now I've actually already done that because I needed it to install the bat beacon and test that that was working, and you can see that in another video that I've already released. This controls this circuit board, and the assembly is pretty straightforward. There's a circuit board in the middle, a top, a bottom, and some rubber buttons, and you just push it together. There's no screws or glue or anything that holds it together, which is part of the problem because it falls apart on its own pretty routinely because there's nothing to hold it together. It also eats batteries at a phenomenal rate, even though I'm not using it. So I'm glad to say we won't be using this long term. This and that circuit board are being replaced with the Mike Lane bat circuit. So that's the end of the video today. That's all 6 issues installed, and the car's looking pretty good. It's nice to have the entire floor in, and you get a sense of the scale of the model. So the next step will be to start building the interior, which I'm really looking forward to because it's got quite a cool interior. We'll also be doing some mods to that, adding carpets and mats and other things. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to click subscribe if you did, and I hope you have a great day. Take care.